Okay, so in this presentation, we're going to explore the role of students in social movements in Lebanon, taking the recent mobilization around the waste problem. This presentation is based on a on an ongoing research project that we started, the three of us, in October 2015, I think. So I'm just going to talk briefly about the context within which this research was conducted. So in summer 2015, a popular mobilization initiated by an elite from within the middle class emerged suddenly in Lebanon. At first glance, its focus was so basic. In effect, the Lebanese government has failed in its policy concerning the waste collection and treatment. From this starting point, the movement has widened along with its own focus. Instead of insisting only on the waste problem and its environmental implications, the movement included more important issues in its wake: fighting corruption, requiring the accountability of the government, and most importantly, asking for radical changes in the electoral system. I'm going to talk also very briefly about the composition and the demands of the movement leadership. We can roughly distinguish three major actors in the leadership. So first of them are newborn groups or campaigns that emerge within the wake of the waste problem, like the Youth Think, طلعت ريحتكم, one of the main leaders of this campaign, or We Want Accountability, بدنا نحاسب, etc. The other actors were older groups or campaigns like the Lebanon Eco Movement or the Lebanese Association for Democratic Election, LADE. And finally, some independent figures like Hana Gharib or Sharbel Nahas. Most members of the campaigns had previous political commitments with left or liberal Lebanese parties, and many of them have participated in political activities such as Isqat al-Nizam al-Taifi, or in advocacy campaigns such as the right for Lebanese women to give the nationality to their citizenship to their children. These groups or campaigns shared at least one main demand related to the solving of the garbage crisis. Also, very briefly, they started, the main actions around the Hirak started when people of surrounding villages of the main waste depository in Neameh definitely closed it. A popular mobilization followed to sustain this measure. Waste started accumulating in the city capital of Beirut. All the media internationally and nationally were talking about this in August and September. Surprisingly, the bourgeois in Beirut were the first to protest. The popular mobilization did follow. Many civil society-based groups joined the mobilization and started leading it. Organized activities and street events, including mass demonstrations, ensued. But mobilization strategies were opposed so far. The most important mobilizing group, animated by Occupying Wall Street experience and by direct democracy model, used the most attractive watchwords, for instance. If you are interested, there is a demonstration today at 4. So, given this context, the two main research questions we are asking in this presentation are: first, to what extent the students have been participating in this Hirak of 2015? And secondly, how to explain the witnessed changes in the students' attitude towards social movements, especially the Hirak, in light of changes in the academic scene and the reconfiguration of political power in Lebanon? And I think that it links a bit with the previous presentation. To what extent can we qualify the last Hirak as a social movement? Theoretical literature distinguishes between old social movements, meaning the working class-based ones, and new social movements, which are supposed to represent new issues like differentiated identities, environment, human rights, etc. The main social basis for these later movements is to be found within middle class. While all social movements are mainly, but not only, responding to risks facing work conditions, salary, and the right to organize, that's to say facing capital, new social movements are preoccupied with demands related to specific groups' interests, generally in the name of individual specific rights or choices. and which are to be mainly fulfilled by the political power. The Hirak in Lebanon does not meet neither kinds of social movements, so how to designate it? The two major characteristics of the Hirak are its spontaneity on the one hand and its urban middle-class nature on the other hand. But neither spontaneity nor middle-class demands are sufficient to classify the Hirak as old or new social movement. Spontaneity used to be adopted by workers, sometimes as starting point of a social movement, a reaction to a lockout, for example. As for the urban middle class, spontaneity has been used when repressive measures are taken by political power against human rights in particular. Add to that the fact that the Hirak had neither a unified leadership nor a clear... sorry. Okay. حاروق شوي. شوي مرعوبة من الوقت. Okay. The Hirak had neither a unified leadership nor a clear unified strategy. So how to qualify this Hirak? It's the conjunction between an urgent need for a solution to a persistent damaging problem, socially as well as environmentally, on the one hand, and the readiness of specific social groups, mainly from young middle-class activists, to act for this solution on the other hand. But instead of a clear and lasting strategy, there was the will of a determined minority of them to continue on without enough resources, with the only hope to denounce inability of a failing political power. Now, what about the students? The 60s and the 70s witnessed a strong involvement of students in the social and political struggles in Lebanon. For instance, the struggle for building a national university, the constitution of their own representative bodies, the involvement with political left, and the Palestinian struggle. But since the 90s, we witness a decreasing participation of students from the social and political scene in Lebanon due to two main reasons. First, the reconfiguration of the academic field in Lebanon under the law of the market, and we witnessed a multiplication of market-oriented universities. Now there are around 40 universities in Lebanon. And secondly, the changes in the cultural referential frame from a leftist and pan-Arabic ideology or a Lebanese-centered ideology to a referential frame centered on communitarism. So for this presentation, we are mainly relying on two types of data. First, a qualitative survey that we started in October 2015, and it's still going on. We did interviews with the leaders of the main groups involved in the Hirak, and with students within some student organizations. And we're going to also mainly rely on the results of a quantitative survey that was conducted in 4 universities, the public one, the Lebanese University, AUB, LIU, and BAU. And we distributed the questionnaires with students from different disciplines: sociology, engineering, journalism, public relations, medical science, and education. So this is an exploratory survey. We did 2,037 questionnaires, but the results are quite interesting, as you will see next. So, to what extent the students have been participating in the Hirak? We can say that the students had only a peripheral role in the leadership of the Hirak. The participation of student clubs was rare, apart from specific clubs in some private universities, such as the Red Oak or the Secular Club at AUB. And in general, Lebanese universities did not witness significant events in solidarity with the Hirak, apart from AUB that organized several talks about the Hirak, and the Red Oak that was animating a tent in the AUB as well. The results of our questionnaire also confirmed this assertion. As we see in this survey, only 15% of the students interviewed declared that they participated to at least one event organized by the Hirak. Among them, 9 were involved in one of the leading groups, and only 5% of the students declared that they tried to organize themselves within their universities to participate to the Hirak activities. How can we explain this limited participation of the students? In addition to historical and theoretical causes we already stated, we can add the following reasons. There is no more national student movement in Lebanon since the Taif Accord, and consequently no more active representative leading students organization in Lebanon. Secondly, as we heard a bit before, the Lebanese university, the only public university of the country, is accentuating its communitarian obedience. Faculties and departments are subdivided in order to satisfy regional communitarian divide. There are no central elected leaderships, no students' organizations, no systematic election of representative. Now, how do the students themselves explain their limited participation to the Hirak? Three main types of factors are mentioned by the students in our survey. First factors are related to the leadership of the movement. They say, for example, I'm going to say it in Arabic as it was in the questionnaire. لا أثق بقدرة الحراك على تحقيق المطالب المطروحة أو لا أثق بقادة الحراك. The second type of reasons are related to state violence, and finally to material reasons such as the fact that the place of demonstrations was far from their place of residence. Then 58% of our interviewees disapproved the activities of the Hirak, and they stated also mainly the lack of confidence that social and civic movement can change anything in Lebanon based on the experience of previous latest social and political campaigns, such as the right for Lebanese women to pass on to their children their citizenship, or the campaign for a civic political system, the teachers' social movement, the campaign regarding violence against women, just to state some of them. So here you can see that the main reason was لم تثبت التحركات النضالية السابقة أي جدوى في تغيير الواقع السياسي في البلد. Then, what were the reasons why? We also asked them a question about why do you think that the students were not so much involved in the Hirak? And here three types of reasons are mentioned. Attitudinal reasons. We have no interest in students have no interest in public issues. Then economic rationality. Students are not concerned by the Hirak demands, or they fear of losing their academic semester, especially in private university. And the third reason are related to political factors, like the involvement of students in political parties that do not favor the social movement. So how can we explain this witnessed change of students' attitudes towards social movements, and especially the latest Hirak? Given the fact that new social movements, especially in the Lebanese case, confront the state directly, we may suggest the following hypothesis. Since the state in Lebanon is based on communitarian basis, and since it's being ruled as a kind of partnership between major communitarian leaderships, changing its working mechanisms and making it accept the people's say in public affairs mean a threat to the hegemony of communitarian leaderships on the public affairs, including public finance. This also means that the public space, the major arena for social movements, becomes the state's power space. Hence, social movements, the Hirak in this case, is treated as a threat. Securitarian corps, state media, judiciary system, political parties dominating the state power, and other state ideological apparatuses face together the Hirak and try by all available means to discredit it and make it irrelevant. This leads us to discuss a bit the understanding of students of the access and meaning of the public space. One of the main achievements of the Hirak was to transform the public space in Beirut, which was dominated since the 90s by both the big capital and state repressive agencies, into a space in which the protest activities were taking place, and in which people in general were rediscovering their own ties to the city itself. Meanwhile, the students seemed to not really catch the meaning of this important step in order to reinvest their own university's public space, with the exceptions that we mentioned before, such as the one of AUB. One reason for explaining this gap in reinvesting the public space by the students remains in their misunderstanding of the historical role of the students' movement in the creation of the public university in Lebanon. When we ask them in this table, for what reason do you think that the Lebanese universities was created? Only 30% of them reply due to تحرك الطلاب وروابطهم ومنظماتهم. So most of the interviewees don't know the historical role played by students in the struggle for building up a public Lebanese university during the 60s. Another reason for this gap is that for many students, public space is understood as being haunted by violence in the wake of people gathering. This is what may generate violence and cause their passivity. Finally, just to conclude with three brief remarks. The challenges in the Lebanese university system have led to a clear disengagement on the students' side in general. Their commitment towards the public interest is fading, as it has been proven in different occasions, and this is in the last Hirak, for instance. Students are facing challenges in political, social, and academic life with a tendency towards passive attitude, although some exceptions are still promising. Since the great majority of the students are facing socioeconomic pressures, their tendency to dealing with them is to be more committed to communitarian allegiances in searching for solutions. Hence, their participation to public protest proved to be declining. Thank you very much.